It was a busy Monday morning at JFK Airport, and the gate for Flight 738 to Los Angeles was buzzing with passengers. Flight attendant Rachel Morgan had worked this route dozens of times. She was sharp, professional, and known for never bending the rules, no matter who the passenger was. As boarding began, Rachel scanned tickets with a smile. Everything was running smoothly until a girl in a hoodie, designer sunglasses, and expensive boots walked past the line without scanning her boarding pass. She didn't make eye contact, didn't acknowledge anyone, just brushed past as if she owned the place. "Excuse me, miss," Rachel called, stepping in front of her. "Boarding pass, please." The girl sighed, loud enough to turn a few heads. Slowly, she pulled her sunglasses down, revealing striking green eyes filled with annoyance. "It's under Logan, first class, window seat. Can I go now?" Rachel didn't budge. "Name and ID, please. Everyone checks in properly." The girl rolled her eyes but handed over her phone and ID. Rachel looked at the name. Isla Logan. The name seemed familiar, but she couldn't place it. The boarding pass was valid. Still, Rachel had been trained to treat every passenger equally. No special treatment. "Next time, please wait your turn," Rachel said firmly, handing back the phone. Isla gave a cold smile. "Next time, maybe you'll recognize who you're talking to." She brushed past again and disappeared into the plane. Rachel exhaled sharply and continued boarding. The exchange lingered in her mind, but she pushed it aside. Entitled passengers weren't rare in first class. Once everyone was seated, Rachel walked through to ensure seatbelts were fastened. As she reached 1A, Isla was already reclined, earbuds in, staring out the window. Her energy was off, arrogant, maybe even hostile. Still, Rachel kept her cool. But what Rachel didn't know was that this wasn't just any difficult passenger. And by the time the doors closed, something would happen that would make her question everything. As the plane taxied onto the runway, Rachel did one last sweep of the cabin. Isla Logan sat still, legs crossed, tapping her manicured nails against the armrest. She looked irritated, like flying commercial was some sort of punishment. Rachel quietly chuckled to herself. First class on this flight offered champagne, leather seats, and a three-course meal, but for someone like Isla, maybe even that wasn't enough. Half an hour into the flight, the turbulence began. Rachel calmly made her way down the aisle, checking seat belts and reassuring nervous passengers. When she reached the front, she noticed Isla had her seatbelt off and tray table down. Laptop open with music blaring through her earbuds. "Miss Logan," Rachel said gently, tapping her shoulder, "please secure your seatbelt and put your tray up." Isla removed one earbud and looked up slowly. "You've got to be kidding. I just got comfortable." "It's for your safety," Rachel replied, her voice steady. "We're hitting rough air. Please comply." Isla scoffed but did as asked, slamming her laptop shut and yanking the seatbelt across her waist. "Happy now?" Rachel gave a small nod and turned to walk away, but Isla's next words stopped her cold. "You've clearly got no clue who I am." Rachel paused but didn't turn around. "All passengers follow the same safety protocols. Have a nice flight." And with that, she walked off. Back in the galley, Rachel leaned against the counter. Her co-attendant, Marcus, raised an eyebrow. "Everything okay up there?" Rachel sighed. "First-class diva. Thinks the rules don't apply." Marcus chuckled. "Which one? The girl in 1A? She does look like trouble." Just then, the pilot's voice crackled through the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, due to a mechanical issue, we'll be making an emergency landing in Denver. Please stay seated and remain calm." The cabin buzzed with murmurs and tension. Rachel rushed into action, checking passengers, giving instructions, calming nerves. She reached Isla's seat again. This time, Isla looked pale, gripping the armrest. For a moment, all the arrogance had vanished. She looked, scared. Rachel knelt beside her. "We'll be okay. The crew is trained for this. You're safe." Isla nodded slightly but didn't speak. Something had shifted, and Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this girl than the attitude and designer boots. The plane touched down hard on the Denver runway, tires screeching, oxygen masks shaking slightly from the ceiling. But the landing was successful. No injuries, no panic, just a cabin full of stunned passengers and a team of alert flight attendants who handled it like pros. As they taxied to a remote gate, Rachel went through the post-emergency checklist. She glanced over at Isla Logan, who now sat motionless, her arms crossed tightly, jaw clenched. The captain came on the intercom. "Folks, we'll be delayed here in Denver for at least 2 hours while maintenance inspects the aircraft. You're welcome to deplane into the terminal. First class may exit first." Rachel opened the cabin door, letting in the dry Colorado air. One by one, first-class passengers stepped off. Isla stood, grabbed her designer duffel, and headed for the exit without a word. As she passed Rachel, Rachel offered a courteous nod. "Hope you're feeling all right." Isla paused just for a second. Her lips parted like she might say something, but she didn't. She kept walking. Inside the terminal, Rachel and Marcus took a break near gate C12. Marcus sipped bad airport coffee. "You still thinking about 1A?" Rachel nodded. Something about her felt off, not just entitled. It was like she was holding something in. Marcus shrugged. Maybe she's just spoiled. Just then, Rachel's phone buzzed. A message from airline security. "Passenger Isla Logan flagged by secondary check. Please report to terminal manager's office." Her stomach sank. Minutes later, Rachel arrived at the small office. Behind the desk sat a man in a dark suit and earpiece. Definitely not standard airport staff. Isla sat in the corner, arms folded, eyes cold. The man stood. "You're Rachel Morgan?" "Yes. You removed Miss Logan from first-class boarding priority this morning. Is that correct?" Rachel blinked. "She skipped the line. I followed standard protocol." The man stepped closer. "Do you have any idea who she is?" Rachel's voice was steady. "She said her name was Isla Logan. That's it." He leaned in. "She's not just a passenger. She's the daughter of Richard Logan, founder of Logan Dynamics, one of the most powerful men in aviation." Rachel's heart skipped. "You may have just caused a very serious problem." She turned to Isla, who met her eyes, this time with something colder than anger. It was disappointment. Rachel stood frozen, trying to process the weight of the words hanging in the air. Richard Logan. That name wasn't just big, it was legendary. Logan Dynamics wasn't just a billion-dollar company. It was the reason half the aircraft in the sky even existed. Engines, software, entire flight systems bore the Logan mark, and his daughter had been seated in 1A. The suited man continued, his tone clipped. Mr. Logan was not only expecting her to be treated with discretion, but also with priority. She was en route to a closed-door aerospace meeting in LA, one involving your airline. Rachel swallowed hard. "With respect, I wasn't informed." She didn't identify herself. She ignored protocol. Isla, still seated, finally spoke. "You think people like me need to announce ourselves? You treated me like a nuisance. Like I didn't matter." Rachel turned toward her. "I treated you like a passenger, same as anyone else." Isla's lips tightened. "Exactly." The room went quiet. The man in the suit checked his watch. "Your airline will handle the consequences. For now, Miss Logan will be accommodated on a private jet." Isla rose without another word and followed him out. Just before leaving, she glanced back, her expression unreadable. Rachel stood there alone, the cold fluorescent lights humming above. Her chest was tight, but she kept her spine straight. She had followed the rules. She had done her job, and yet somehow it felt like she had failed. Back on the plane, the crew resumed prepping for takeoff. Rachel worked in silence. She couldn't shake Isla's voice, those words. "You treated me like I didn't matter." The airline's regional manager called mid-flight. Formal tone, disappointment. "Rachel, we've received a complaint from the Logan family. It's significant." Rachel nodded through the call, face blank. By the time she hung up, her future felt uncertain. Hours later, after landing in LA, Rachel stepped off the plane into a sea of evening lights and warm wind. Her phone buzzed again. An unknown number. A message popped up. "You're not wrong, but you're not right either." Isla. Rachel stared at the screen, a swirl of emotions in her chest. This wasn't over. Rachel sat alone in her small hotel room near LAX, the city lights flickering beyond the curtains. Her phone was silent, but her mind wasn't. The message from Isla haunted her. You're not wrong, but you're not right either. What did that even mean? She replayed the events a dozen times. She followed protocol. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't mistreat Isla. But somewhere in between doing her job and standing her ground, something had gone sideways. The next morning, Rachel was summoned to the airline's West Coast office. She walked in wearing her pressed uniform, hair tied tight, and heart pounding under her blazer. The HR director, Mr. Keller, greeted her with a tired smile. "Rachel, please, sit." She did. "We've reviewed the situation," he said, glancing at his screen. "You followed procedure. You weren't rude or unprofessional." Rachel exhaled slightly until he continued. "However, in high-profile cases like this, there's an expectation of diplomacy, awareness. The Logan family has influence far beyond our company." Rachel's stomach twisted. "So what are you saying?" "You're not being terminated," Keller said quickly, "but you are being placed on a 2-week leave while we smooth things over." Leave. The word hit like a slap. She'd never taken leave. She didn't even call in sick. Her job wasn't just a paycheck, it was her identity. As she stood to leave, he added, "Off the record, be careful who you stand up to. Some people play by different rules." Outside, the California sun felt too bright. Her suitcase rolled quietly behind her as she walked to the curb, unsure of what to do next. But then, as if the day hadn't already twisted enough, a sleek black car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. It was Isla. No sunglasses, no hoodie. Just a calm expression and a tired look in her eyes. "Get in," she said softly. Rachel hesitated. "Why?" Isla looked at her directly. "Because I owe you the truth, and maybe an apology." Against every instinct, Rachel opened the door and sat down. The car pulled away from the curb, leaving the airport, and everything Rachel knew behind. This wasn't about just a flight anymore. It was about two women from different worlds, forced into the same seat at 30,000 feet, and now on a collision course neither of them saw coming. The car glided through the hills above Los Angeles, winding past palm trees and sprawling mansions. Rachel sat in silence, stealing glances at Isla, who stared ahead, lost in thought. Finally, Isla broke the silence. "You know, I didn't even want to be on that flight." Rachel looked at her. "Then why were you?" "My father made me. Said if I wanted a seat on the board, I had to see how the real airline operates. Fly commercial. Blend in." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "You didn't exactly blend in." Isla gave a dry laugh. "Yeah, I guess I failed that test." The car pulled into a private driveway. At the top sat a stunning glass estate, perched like a crown above the city. As they stepped inside, Rachel couldn't help but feel like she was walking into a dream, or maybe someone else's reality entirely. Isla motioned to a leather couch. "Sit, please." Rachel sat. Isla poured 2 glasses of water, handed one over, and joined her. "My mother was a flight attendant," Isla said, her voice quieter now. "Before she met my father, before the jets and the billions. She used to tell me stories about long nights, rude passengers, and how the smallest kindness made the biggest difference." Rachel's eyes softened. "She sounds like someone I would have liked." "She died when I was 13, Isla continued. "After that, I just kind of became what people expected. Cold, entitled, distant. It was easier than trying to be someone I couldn't live up to." Rachel sat with the weight of that truth. "You reminded me of her," Isla said suddenly. "Not because you were sweet, but because you didn't care who I was. You stood your ground. She was like that." Silence passed between them, peaceful this time. "So why did you report me?" Rachel finally asked. "I didn't," Isla said, shaking her head. "My father found out I was treated like a regular person. He was furious. I didn't file a complaint. I sent that message because I felt guilty." Rachel leaned back, letting it sink in. "So what now?" Isla smiled faintly. "Now I fix it." She stood, walked to a small office, and returned with an envelope. "Take this to your airline. Inside is a formal letter from me. No complaint. In fact, a recommendation." Rachel took the envelope, stunned. Isla looked at her, softer now. You reminded me who I was supposed to be. Rachel stood to leave. And you reminded me why I love what I do. The two women shook hands, no longer strangers in conflict, but equals in understanding. Sometimes the flight you never wanted becomes the one that changes your course forever.